Hi everyone, welcome and thanks for checking out 10-minute movies. In this video, we will be going over Frozen River, a 2008 crime drama. Please enjoy and beware of spoilers ahead. Liking the video makes a real difference in the algorithm and is greatly appreciated. Please consider hitting the thumbs up button. That said, let's get into the movie. The film opens in a town in upstate New York called Massena, and we see a middle-aged woman named Ray smoking a cigarette and visibly upset. She stares at her car's empty glove box, then goes into her small house and changes clothes. Her youngest child Ricky follows her in with a suitcase. Outside they meet someone who hauls over half of a double-wide mobile home. He asks for his down payment which she doesn't have. Ray says when he brings the other half she'll be able to make the payment, but he says he won't bring it until she pays the full amount. He then gives her until Christmas to pay up, which is less than 2 weeks away. Her other older son TJ confronts her and says he wants to help by getting a job, but she says no because he needs to focus on school. Ricky then asks where their dad went, and she says he went on a business trip and never came back. Her older son then says that she should look for him but she says she doesn't know where she would start. He suggests she look in the reservation before she sends them off to school. Ray then drives into the Indian reservation and stops for gas and asks an attendant if he's seen her husband's car. He tells her to try the bingo parlor not far away. When she gets there, she finds her husband's car in the parking lot. She then goes into the bingo parlor and asks the host if she can look for her husband inside. The host says she needs to pay to go in, and Ray reveals that she can't pay even for the admission because her husband gave away the money they saved for their home. The host insists he isn't in there. She then sees her husband's car driving off and follows it back to a camper. It was being driven by a Native American woman called Lila, who admits she stole it and says that Ray can't do anything because it was abandoned and it's in Mohawk Indian territory. Lila then storms inside her camper, but Ray shoots a hole in the door and demands the keys from her. Lila then says that the man the car belonged to got on a bus before she stole it. She also shares that a friend she has who smuggles immigrants would be willing to buy it. Ray agrees and brings Lila to the man. Ray also holds her at gunpoint while driving and threatens to shoot her if she tries anything. To get there they need to cross the Canadian border over a huge sheet of ice, but Lila tells her it's okay because it's still technically Indian territory and the ice will hold. They reach the immigrant smuggler's house where a dog barks at them. While distracted, Lila grabs Ray's gun and forces Ray at gunpoint to help smuggle some men back over the border. On the way, Lila picks on Ray, telling her that her husband probably left her for a younger woman. Lila also tells her that her own husband died once during a smuggling trip like this one. They drive past a police car but Lila assures Ray they won't be stopped, because she is white. They make a stop where a man takes the immigrants out of the trunk and gives them $1,200 for each. Afterwards they stop by some trees where Lila tries to abandon Ray and take the car. The two fight with Ray winning, taking the gun back, and chasing her off, but she notices her head is bleeding from the fight. Afterwards Ray goes back to her family's house, where she finds TJ trying to unfreeze their pipes and she yells at him for using the blowtorch without her there. She tells him she went looking for their father and couldn't find him. When TJ notices the cut on her head, she tells him about the fight, but not about the smuggling. Later, Lila sneaks around a house and looks in the window. We see that she has a young son that someone else is taking care of. She leaves the money she got from the job at their doorstep. At Ray's job at a retail store, she asks her manager if she can start working full-time. Her manager says no because he doesn't like her. After work, she drives back to Lila's camper demanding her half of the smuggle money. Lila says the money is gone. After that, Ray says that she's willing to do more smuggling. On the car ride, Lila shares that her son that we saw earlier was stolen from her by her mother-in-law. Lila also shares that these immigrants are brought here by snakeheads, who are mercenaries who bring them over from their countries for a fee and make them work off their debt. At the smuggler hideout, they find out they need to go pick their next 2 immigrants up. At the stop, the immigrants' handler forces them into the trunk at gunpoint after they hesitate because they don't like women drivers. Back at Ray's house, we see TJ trying to get money for the family by running phone scams. Ray and Lila pass the same police car from their first smuggle. They arrive at their stop, collect the money and drop off the immigrants. Ray drops off Lila without giving her her half, saying they are now even. Back at Ray's house, the company who finances their television shows up to collect. TJ tries to give them a credit card number he got from his phone scamming which doesn't work. Just before they come in, Ray shows up with enough money to pay them off. TJ asks where she got the money, which she answers with a lie saying that she got promoted at work and got a bonus. Ray also tells TJ that she'll also be able to pay for their new mobile home. The next morning, Lila is woken up by a man throwing snowballs at her camper, saying he has a job for her to answer phones for the Mohawk Tribal Council. At work, Ray rings up some items for a police officer she recognizes as the one she and Lila passed doing their smuggling. We then see Lila struggling at her new job because she has a hard time reading. After leaving, she goes back home where she meets with Ray. While stopping for gas, Lila sees her son and mother-in-law. She walks up but says nothing. Lila and Ray then pick up a new pair of immigrants, but Ray hesitates because these ones are from Pakistan, unlike the others who are from China. Ray stops to throw out one of their immigrants' bags because she's paranoid that they might be terrorists and put a bomb in it. Back at the house, TJ starts trying to unfreeze their pipes with a blowtorch like an idiot. Smoke eventually starts filling the house, which TJ tries to discreetly air out. When Ray and Lila drop off the immigrants, one of them gets upset because of the missing bag and they decide to go back for it. When they reach it, they realize the bag had the immigrant's baby in it, which is now dead. Ray and Lila are then stopped by a policeman. Ray gets nervous, but the officer tells her it's just because of her taillight being out. He asks her who Lila is and she says she's just a friend who babysits for her. Now back at the stop, they are shocked and relieved to see that the baby wasn't dead but just very cold, and they give it back to the immigrant mother. After dropping Lila off, Ray gives her half of the money. The next morning, the police officer stops by to ask Ray some questions. He asks about her relationship with Lila, and Ray makes up some lies for him on the spot. After, Ray notices smoke marks by the pipes. She calls for TJ, then they get into an argument and she tells him they can no longer live there. Ray then drives to the bingo house to pick up Lila for another smuggle job. But Lila says she quit smuggling because she was shook by the baby incident. But Ray convinces her to help after explaining that Lila will need the money if she ever wants to take care of her own son. On their way to pick up their next delivery, Ray stops to finally make the down payment for their new home from the beginning of the film. Their smuggler contact tells them to pick up their next immigrants at a strip club. When they get there, they pick up 2 Chinese women. Lila points out that the money is short and insists that they get the rest. When their handler refuses, Ray holds him up at gunpoint and demands the rest of the money before leaving. They get the money, but he gets a shot off on her before they are able to run and the bullet grazes Ray's face. During their getaway, the policeman starts a pursuit. They try to get on the reservation where the police can't arrest them. The officer follows them anyway, so they drive onto a sheet of ice that they aren't sure will hold them. Eventually the ice cracks and keep them from driving further. They quickly get the immigrants out of the trunk. Eventually they reach their smuggler contact on foot with their immigrants. The contact then takes them to the house of some Mohawk tribe officials. The officials say that the authorities want them to surrender the immigrants, as well as Ray, so she can be made an example. Ray quickly takes her half of the money and Lila's boss shows up to tell her that she's been banished from the reservation for 5 years. Ray runs away through the woods and tries to find her car in the dark. Realizing she can't get away, Ray comes back and gives Lila money, asking her to take care of her 2 boys for a few months while she's in jail. Lila agrees and leaves, also stopping to take her own son back from her mother-in-law. Ray finds out that she'll be spending the next 4 months in jail and calls TJ to tell him. Lila arrives with her son. The next morning, a man from tribal police arrives asking to speak with TJ. He brought the old lady he phone scammed earlier and asks him to apologize to her, which he does. We then see Lila and the boys all playing together while their new mobile home gets pulled in. That's Frozen River from 2008. Thank you for watching, and leave a comment if you think the movie should have ended different, or if you have ideas for other movies to recap. Have a wonderful day and see you next time.